Hi, my name is Amy.Robinet, and this is my presentation for the AAC assignment for communications disorders. I chose the active participants section B1.3, Health and Physical Education Curriculum from the Ministry of Education's curriculum. For grade 1, it states that students will identify a variety of ways to be physically active at school and at home every day. So this is my communication board I've developed to use with Clayton in the classroom. The activity that I came up with was one that the teacher could chat with the students about things that they do at home and at school that we would define as physical activity, and talk to the students about maybe making a big list everyone could look at, and talk about maybe trying some of the things that people do at home that are physically active that maybe some people haven't tried before, and including Clayton in that conversation and looking at the lists and explaining how we do some of these activities. My board that I developed for Clayton is in front of you that you can see. I thought a lot of these items he'd be able to use in that brainstorming and talking about activities piece, as well as sort of implementing doing some of these activities perhaps at school, whether that's during gym, in the classroom, or out on the playground. My board, at the top of the board, you'll see from like sort of halfway up, halfway across and up, these are sort of some of the activities that we talked about: jump, catch, pass the ball, run, walking, my turn, your turn, play, swings, climb, skateboarding, swim, skating, walk, tag, soccer, jump rope, baseball, basketball. Any of these items might be identified by Clayton's peers and classmates. I wanted him to be able to see those activities on his board that he could identify when the class was having the discussion. And also, if there was something else the student may have mentioned that's not on his board, we could add that at a later date. What I would identify Clayton will do to participate is that when students are talking about what physical activity is and what that looks like to them and their home, they could he could look at these photos and words and be able to identify that. And that would be a lot of modeling with his EA. If someone's talking about, oh, I play basketball, being able to identify the basketball button and what that looks like, and saying the word along with it so that he could try and say those words as well. The other things that if Clayton with his family, they're big, I don't know, soccer fans, he could identify soccer on his board and maybe talk about how he plays that with his family. He could talk about you have to run, which is on his board. He does it with his family, which is on his board, at his house, which Clayton's house is on his board. So those are kinds of things that he could participate well. He could ask yes or no questions, or he could answer yes and no questions. Do you do this at your house, Clayton? No. And so on the bottom right hand of my board, you'll notice I put some things yes and no so that Clayton could answer those questions from his peers, as well as participate when if people ask him, or he's asking people in his classroom questions, they would be able to identify a yes or no answer for him. Below that, I've got slow, go, and stop. Lots of times when kids are talking about playing or physical activities, there is a lot of stop and go and fast. And so I wanted to kind of put those pictures on the board to identify that for Clayton. So lots of times when you do a certain thing in the game, you have to then stop and reset. Or you go, or you have to go slow. So I wanted those options in there if they needed those to kind of help explain to Clayton some of these physical activities to him, or as well if he's trying to explain something he's done to one of his peers. On the left side, like I mentioned, I put Clayton's house because we're talking about physical activity at home. His school, because he may have done some of these activities at school. And then, of course, his family there. Right above there, I thought when implementing some of these ideas, if the teacher in this activity wanted to try some of the physical activities that kids are doing at home at school, he might be able to say, can you help me when he's trying something new? Or look at me, look what I'm doing. He might be wanting to sort of direct attention to himself. So I put those buttons in there. What I liked about this board for my use is it covers, I think, all the things when it comes to physical activity, but it also allows for some space that I could add things to, because there might be things that I didn't think about, but I could add another button. What I might do differently is maybe shade these colors sort of into groupings for Clayton. Or as I'm using this board, I might find that I'm using a lot of the buttons this over and over, and they might not be in the right spot, so I'd be able to move them. I also might want to look at where a placement of some of these buttons are for conversations he's having. And also there might be other sports too as well. I like this board. I think it would cover everything that the teacher would want to talk about regarding physical activity at home and even at the school. Some of these things Clayton would participate in at school as well. I would really like Clayton to achieve being able to talk about physical activity with his peers using this board, and hopefully gaining a new skill not only in his speech and his social interaction with his peers, but also achieving the curriculum for grade 1 in physical education, which is identifying physical activities that he does at home.